Hindi ho ba kaya ng Congress o ng Senado na tutukan na hindi ho maging Imperial Manila ito and that other parts of the country are equally given the share of the pie?
As you were saying earlier, Eric, that's the reason they are there in Congress.
Okay.
To represent their local interests and to correct this undue concentration of authority and power on Metro Manila.
Okay.
That's why we have the local government code, which is supposed to have decentralized things. Kaya lang, as I pointing out earlier, it's a question of political will. Nandyan yung batas, gawin mo lang yung sinasabi.
Or is it because the congressman is worried that if he downloads much of the funding to the mayor, to the governor, etc., by the time he reaches his term limits, he will be confronted with a very accomplished governor and accomplished mayor whom he wants to joust against?
Well, that is one of the political realities in our country. No? I come from a very poor region, very poor province, and for the longest time, walang development na ini-encourage yung mga nakaupo.
Yes.
In fact, at one time, mayroong mga investors, galing din doon lumaki, sa ibang lupa, pagkatapos nagkaroon ng pera, bumalik in order to invest in the province.
Yes.
No? They were being discouraged by those in power. Walang kwenta ang negosyo rito. They're being driven away because ang fear, baka ma-develop yung consciousness ng voters. Matutong makita kung sinong dapat magsilbi sa kanila, hindi. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
How do you now read this, Mr. Senator? You have almost 4 cabinet members that are not exactly enthusiastically supporting federalism. With the permission of the President, is the President giving them enough leash? Is this part of the inquisitive discourse within the cabinet? Or it also shows that he has other things in mind?
Well, I'll be happy to be told that this is an indication of the President having an open mind.
Okay.
But I'll be happier to see that this is, in fact, a reflection of the independence, the independent-mindedness of these cabinet members. Okay. Once you are in the cabinet, your master above the President is the truth. You have to tell him the bad news, Mr. President.
Yes.
I am for you, but this thing will not fly.
Yes.
Will not fly.
Yes.
And I'm happy to see that Dominguez.
Yes.
Pernia.
Yes.
Jokno. And who is the fourth?
Even Bongo is saying it's going to be a long shot in federalism. This is the closest already.
Bongo is being credited with something good. That's really
federalism. Sabi niya, federalism is a long shot. I'm just quoting from one of the major dailies. So, does this have the blessing of the President already?
I think it's immaterial, Eric, whether this is the blessing of the President or not. Because medyo naligaw ng Pangulo. Malayo na ang kanyang tinahat. From point 0, where I was saying he is excluded totally from this process, malayo na ang narating niya. So, at this point, kung ano man ang sinasabi ng kanyang mga kasama sa gabinete, should be given their own objective value, regardless of what the President feels about it.
A member of the Consultative Commission is saying, if the President is serious about federalism, testing his conviction, he should fire these cabinet members. What is your...
That's crazy. I mean, you fire somebody because he disagrees with you? This is not the basis of democratic governance. The first requirement of democracy is the freedom of speech, freedom of debate. How else will the President, especially if he is autocratically inclined, get the best advice? Wala na. Mapakinggan lang niya yung takot sa kanya at walang masasabi.
there were other points here that were mentioned. Like for example, Senator Recto is talking about before we move into federalism, we have to look at the details. He's saying we have to look at the fiscal responsibility check, cost to implement, one. Number two, do we have the money for it? Number three, do we raise taxes? Do we impose fees? Do we create savings? Or do we borrow money? And then what is the per capita burden it will impose?
Well,
Your thoughts?
Yeah, these are the nitty-gritty. And I'm so happy to see Ralph Recto emerging under the shadow of Don Claro M. Recto. He's a credit, he's a real honor to Claro M. Recto, whom I consider one of the greatest Filipinos that ever lived. Father of the 1935 Constitution.
There was...
Unfortunately, there's only one Ralph Recto speaking in the Senate.
Professor Edmundo Garcia, who was a 1987 Constitutional Commissioner,
Yeah, Ed Garcia, I know.
yeah, asked whether the Senate even revisited the local government code. And 14 senators said they haven't even revisited or read it.
I'm surprised. There are only 14. No?
Okay. Oh,
There may be more.
oh.
Yeah, that's the tragedy. Once, I was in the Senate once, and after that, my run in the Senate, I used to say that while I was in the Senate, and every joke I made became a law.
Okay.
I think many senators turn our laws into jokes. This is the point we're making.
Shouldn't they be revisiting the local government code?
Yes,
Strengthening it?
yes. Revisit their right to be in the Senate. I think that's the first basic.
Very important.
That they have really a right to be there, sitting there without doing anything, without any awareness of what has happened to the country, what is happening to the country, and what will happen to the country.
Senator Kit, in terms of practical politics, is it because the president has a very high popularity rating? His presidency, he comes in with a lot of, I don't want to use braggadocio, but, a lot of words, conviction. And the senators and the congressmen are giving him a lot of leeway, a lot of gap in order to politically accommodate him, but not necessarily agree with his objectives.
Well, I respect the president personally, as a politician, as an individual. When I was in the Senate, I used to see him in Davao. In some campaigns, he even took me on his motorcycle to drive me around to show that I was his candidate. So I have enormous respect for this fellow.
Okay.
But I have to say,
Your smile.
I have to
We
say,
have to read your
I
smiles.
have to say that he has succeeded in terrorizing the political sector of this country. Through his war on drugs, where thousands of people have been killed. Don't get me wrong, I am against drugs. No?
Yes.
Except that I don't like the killing.
Yes.
Through the killings that have happened in his campaign on drugs, he has succeeded in intimidating and terrorizing everyone. Because
Congress and the Senate.
Congress is made up of the Senate and the House, no, Eric?
Yes.
And,
The House of Representatives and the
and
Senate.
the others, the local politicians. There are no saints in politics.
Yes.
Almost everyone, if
Yes,
not
yes.
everyone, really has
Yes.
something hidden.
Yes.
And so they're afraid that, baka alam ni Presidente itong mga ito, tayong susunod kay Espinosa at saka kay
You'll be in the list.
etc. So they dare not articulate their position. It's only crazy guys like me who are out there pointing out the errors.
So it is correct for Senator Pangilinan to say this is part of just political courtesy. Would that be?
I will not grant him the privilege of being correct.
Ganun ba?
He's wrong. Anyway,
I'm sure you have read, or you've read a lot of the, columnists talking about the new, supposed to be proposed charter change, etc., etc. I don't know how they can sell it, Mr. Senator. They're going to remove all the barangay captains and the kagawads. I mean, how will that fly? I mean, if you're about to lose your job, I mean, will you support this proposal of the consultative commission?
not only the kagawas, the barangay, etc., Eric, but
That's from the bottom. Let's start from the bottom.
but all the national, how many of the national government employees will disappear?
Yes, yes, yes.
It's a big list. That's
About 1.3 million.
1.4 million
Yes.
employees, and
Yeah.
about 95% of those
Yes, yes.
will disappear. 1.3 million.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, saan manggagaling yung support? The support that he can expect.
And the effect on the families, the respective families.
You know, maraming problema na pag-usapan. No? But the only support that is certain to come in favor of the federalism project, if it goes into plebiscite, will be Smartmatic.
Sige, we'll go into that, but in the last portion. Pero ito po, no, Senador, you have 70 plus provinces, and then you're going to cut it down to 16. If you're a governor in one of these provinces, would you personally support federalism? I mean, these are just practical questions I'm asking.
Hindi nga, Eric.
I mean,
Support. I do not see any support except from Smartmatic.
okay. I mean, kasi tinatanong ko lang po ito so that we will go into some of the details. For example, yung sa Supreme Court, from 15 justices, we're going to have 42 justices. Aside from the adjudication and administrative side, of creating these offices, plus the divisions that has to be created. I mean, from 15 to 42, how is that?
They're going to serve pro bono, I think. No?
Hindi
It
ba?
will not involve additional funds.
Huh?
No, it's a crazy thing.
And if you have four Supreme Courts, in short.
They have not studied the serious matters seriously. Unfortunately, these are supposedly learned luminaries.
Yes,
former
yes.
Chief Justice,
Yes.
deans of colleges of law, former Senate President, all this, pedigreed and really titled eminences
Uh-huh.
that have given us nothing.
Okay. Okay, we're going to pause for a few reminders, and later on we're going to go into the Senate. How will the Senate look when we return?